You never plan to lose your job, but if it happens, it can be one of the most stressful life events. One hot chocolate, please. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, cool. Thank you. Thanks very much. Well, if I were in that position, I would be worried about all my expenditure, especially a big ticket item like a mortgage. Hi, Jaya.
Hi, Tom.
It's good to see you.
Likewise, welcome to the office.
Thank you for having me here today.
Please, come through.
Jaya, what's the first thing that a person might need to do in the first 24 hours if they lose their job?
I think when you receive news like this, it's actually quite shocking to take in, even if you suspected that it was coming. So I think the first important thing you need to do is to process that reality for yourself. I often encourage employers who are putting their staff through this to allow the space for them to either return home or leave the work premises so they can process this. It's important to be able to remain professional in that context in the office and not have what I call an outburst of some sort while you're processing this. The next immediate step that someone has to do is to get a sense check of their financial position. Some people have their finances a little bit more in order, so it'll be much quicker to take stock to understand where you're at. But if you're not, then I think it's really important to go back and sit down with your loved ones, make an assessment of what your obligations are and what your position is so that you really get a grasp on where you're at with the way things are.
Jaya, there may be very big ticket items to think about if one loses one's job. I'm thinking about that mortgage that some people, may be paying in cash, right? So what do they do?
It is, and I think it depends on what sort of mortgage arrangement you have. There's always a possibility for you to speak with your bank to understand what options you have and how you can deal with that. The HDB, for example, is very understanding in these situations and also tries to see what they can do to support you. So there are ways around it as long as you seek the help and communicate with the relevant authorities to understand what aid is available to you in the meantime. But the more important part is also then to think, are you able to generate income in other ways in the meantime? You can get into a contracting role, you can go into temporary work. There are ways to generate some income that keeps you afloat and to understand what options you have. So it's really just taking a reality check of what options are available to you given your current circumstances.
What about healthcare?
I generally find that in an employment market like Singapore, citizens are quite responsible. Most people have an insurance plan that they can rely on for anything that's required. And then you have a very comprehensive medical care program that we get through the government with your Medisafe and so on. So I think it's really to understand back again to the same situation that if you are in some kind of medical care, what aid is available to you.
Jaya, we've talked a lot about what people should be doing. What shouldn't they do?
It is a professional setting and it requires everybody to remain professional no matter what the circumstances are. However justified you feel you are to raise your voice or be difficult or say unfriendly things or lose your temper, that's not okay. I mean, of course, people break down and cry. That's understandable. The other thing, which is a complete no-no, is to actually what I call do a security breach. I've heard of stories and personally experienced it myself watching people who download company information to take that with them in case to protect or delete information and on some level end up sabotaging the current role they're in out of anger. The third thing I'm going to say is to kind of make sure you don't badmouth and walk around in the office trying to pull colleagues into a discussion that is not easy for them to have, or to sort of gather what I call support to imply that this is a poor decision and shouldn't have been done.
What about the thoughts of getting another job? Is there anything that one should do in the first 24 hours about that?
You can take that opportunity to review your life where you're at. You might have had floating thoughts about wanting to change the career direction that you already have been on, or changing employers, or thinking about what else you would like to do. Then you start taking the practical steps that go along with it. You update your resume, you get active on social media to connect with your networks, you go to networking events, you connect with people you've worked with before to see whether there's an opportunity, and the list is endless on what you can do to help yourself.
When they are writing that resume again, do they have to be perfectly honest? Do they have to put it in there that they have indeed lost their job?
There is no obligation to do so either in your cover letter or your resume. However, when you are in the interview process and you are asked, you should disclose and actually volunteer that information. And these days, it's become commonplace for employees to experience this, and the stigma of whatever's attached to it has disappeared.
Jaya, thank you so much. There are simply no two ways about it. To lose one's job would be a big challenge to face. But it's important to know that you have options, and also, even more importantly, there is the support out there, and you're never really alone. If you have questions or comments on this story, email us at this address.